Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys.
Gillette updating its classic Best a Man Can Get slogan for the Me Too era, encouraging men to take a stand against so-called toxic masculinity.
They don't want to be held accountable. It is toxic masculinity. That's not actual masculinity.
Toxic masculinity is tied so closely to masculinity itself.
Well, you hear a lot of that these days, that men should act manly without being toxic, whatever that means. Boys need to be taught to soften their edges lest they step over the line because of all that testosterone. Well, that's why I think it's important at times to highlight those moments when men's natural strength and chivalry and, yes, courage saves lives. Take the heroes from two recent shootings. When a gunman opened fire at a UNC Charlotte campus 10 days ago, 21-year-old Riley Howell charged at him, was shot point blank, but still knocked the shooter off his feet. Then there's 18-year-old Kendrick Castillo. He leapt from his desk Tuesday at a Colorado STEM school when a shooter entered the classroom. While he confronted the suspect with little regard for his own life, others rushed to safety. Kendrick, tragically, was killed. But because of his bravery, well, something Kendrick's father remembered about him.
It's no surprise that if danger was facing him, he would approach it.
Oh, my God, I bawled when I saw that today. Unbelievable young man. But what possesses men to act this way? Well, for answers, I want to bring in Dr. Drew Pinsky. We've talked about these issues before, Dr. Drew, but these two cases, I have goosebumps, like hearing the dad, his loss, his sadness, but the heroism and the sacrifice from young men, 16, 17, 18 years of age, not here to speak their own story, their own truth, but incredible.
Yeah, there is a tendency for the males to turn their aggression, which is what people worry about with toxic masculinity, turn aggression into a positive impulse. Whether they're landing at the beach in Omaha or whether they're rushing a shooter, there is a natural tendency that they actually learn through something called rough and tumble play that's automatic in young males, where they learn to sort of modulate their aggression, but they also learn how to turn it up so they know when it's time to bring it on.
Yeah, but so much in society today, let's face it, discourages men from believing there's a natural impulse to be chivalrous or to be this type of show this type of physical courage. If you say physical courage, well, you're stereotyping, and obviously women can be courageous and are courageous every day. So you see what I'm saying? There's a push and pull with this masculinity deal.
Right, I absolutely agree with you. It's not an exclusive. It's not an exclusive club. It's not that Brienne of Tarth on Game of Thrones is not a heroic figure, and the rest of the males in there are somehow exclusively heroic. Women can be heroic too. It's just because of the aggression, because of the thing that makes us toxic, it also makes us do some of the things that have pushed society forward and also have helped people in extreme situations where there's an extraordinary amount of selflessness, but it's aggression. Ultimately, it's aggression, and we're turning our aggression on an aggressor. And it's okay then.
Yeah. There was another issue here with one of the suspects in the Colorado school shooting, which is being overlooked in some quarters. It was a transgender male in the process of transitioning, okay, so from female biologically to male, and assuming, because in transition, likely taking hormones, testosterone, and so forth. What would that series of drugs do, or how could it affect the mental state of an individual, given how little we have as far as information on the way these drugs affect behavior, especially the testosterone?
That is correct. So we have very limited research on this topic, and I know of no evidence that it turns people actually violent. But when you expose people to male levels of testosterone, I've taken care of many transgender folk over the years, and whenever I particularly get sort of, I wouldn't say amused, but I'm interested in talking to the male to female to male transition patients, because they always say the same thing. They're like, oh my God, I had no idea you were dealing with this. And I point out to them, not only have we been dealing with this chemical in our system, God saw fit to give us this at 13.
I want to read something to you. I want to read this something. This is from Dr. Paul McHugh and Dr. Paul Hruz. They said the truth is that this therapy may have real long-term effects on children's physical and psychological development. development. Whether blocking puberty is the best way to treat gender dysphoria remains far from settled, and it should be considered a drastic and experimental measure. Johns Hopkins and University of Washington, two of the premier researchers on this. Others who use these drugs say the same thing. Hey, we don't have peer-reviewed studies on this, yet parents are giving kids these drugs before the age of 18, before they can give real consent even.
We don't have the research. You've said it. You've said it. That's clear. That is true. And so for me to say something conclusive about aggression and violence, I can't do it. But testosterone is the drug of aggression, and so there is a certain amount of that. Laura, I want to tell you one quick thing that bothers me, though, is that we've gotten to a position in this country where we privilege psychiatric symptoms over the well-being of the individual and the community. So if this kid was having a lot of symptomatology, no one was allowed to do anything if the kid didn't want anything done unless the parents demanded it. With the 18-year-old, you can't do anything. There's privilege in the law for psychiatric symptoms. That's why we have homeless, and that's why we're getting some of these horrible, violent acting out episodes.
Dr. Drew Pinsky, always great to see you on a Friday night, any night.
Yeah, Laura.
Dr. Drew, you take care.